Welcome to Dying to Know, where we open up about everything that comes with losing a loved one.
Because the only thing that's worse than death is not being able to talk about it.
We're your bereavement babes, Leah and Rachel, and today we're diving into crying. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Leah.
When was your last good cry?
My last good cry was probably right after the sound bath that I talked about in another episode.
Oh.
It was a nice 2 a.m. waking up from a dream cry. Boogers and snot everywhere.
Nice.
What about you?
Oh, God. Last good cry? I don't know. I'm like, I asked you that question, and now I'm really trying to think. I really don't know.
Do you think it's going to be this episode?
We'll see. Let's keep filming and find out. But we know, like, with this topic, death is a life-changing moment, and it's very emotionally charged, so people expect you to do it, but if not, it's normal, and it's just you process grief differently, which is what I realized I had started to get into. So I was never a huge crier prior to, like, my dad's passing.
No, same.
Yeah, and I, like, feel like once he had passed, and a lot of people would be like, you know, call me if you need anything, if you just want to cry. And I would think, like, I'm never going. Yeah. But, like, why would I ever call someone to cry?
Yeah.
Like, that would never be anything that I would ever do. And also, I thought something was wrong with me because it wasn't flowing so naturally. I think once I got to the hospital.
You felt like you weren't grieving thoroughly yet, or you felt like you weren't. Do you feel like you truly weren't processing anything yet until you cried? Like, why did you feel bad about not crying?
I think because you expect it, or people expect it. Like, when you hear that someone has died and you're like, you have to go visit them, or you're going to the funeral, you're expecting tears. And I just feel like it didn't feel like that in me. Like, I didn't have the need to, the want to do it. And I think also, too, which I've shared in previous episodes, that, like, I was numbing myself.
Yeah.
So I was staying high. So I was purposely not trying to feel my
any
feelings.
Type of emotion, whether good, bad, sad.
Yeah. So I was like, if I just numb it, then nothing's going to happen and tears won't fall. That doesn't mean I didn't cry at all. Like, once I heard the news at the hospital, I cried. Obviously shed some tears at the, like, funeral, and then other times in my quiet moments, but never, like, sobbing. I thought I was supposed to be, like, sobbing during that time, which I did look up, that just because you don't cry does not mean that something is wrong with you. They were saying, like, people just grieve differently, or that I personally just feel like I was overwhelmed with just so much love and, like, attention. So I felt like a spotlight was on me. So it didn't make me feel more vulnerable to do it.
The last thing you want to do is, when you feel like all eyes are on you, is
cry. It's just like burst out in tears.
Yeah.
And then people are different. I'm also not a big physical touch person. So, like, people naturally want to embrace you when they see you. And I think when you start to cry, people really want to hold on to you. And it's like, I don't want a crowd of people to, like, do that. And I think another thing about me is, I always say it's about myself, that my memory really sucks. So I think I was just hyper focused too on, like, living in those moments and those conversations that I was having with people. So I would remember this time in my life. Like, I want to be cognizant enough to know that, like, this is what this person said to me, or, you know, that's why I journaled a lot in my notes, because I was all hyper focused of, like, what are you feeling? You don't want to forget this.
And then also, just so everyone knows, what is your astrological sign, to explain all of this?
That has something to do with crying?
I feel like it must have something to do. I feel like the Zodiac girlies are going to know and be able to help a little bit.
Oh, so let me look into the camera so I can find my people. I am a sun sign, Taurus, period. I'm also a rising Gemini and moon Taurus. So I'm double Earth. I don't know, what's a Gemini?
You're a double Taurus?
Double Taurus, sun and moon.
Okay.
Yes. Tap in, Taurus. Tap in.
And then
my rising is Gemini.
Okay.
Is Gemini air? Oh, God.
Yes, I think
so. Okay.
Coming from the crowd.
Yeah. Okay. It is an air sign.
But I feel like, I feel like we need them to tap in to help us explain our crying emotions at the end of this.
Yeah, because I am pretty, like, stiff. But also, when I was, like, looking up this, like, am I weird for not crying as much as I thought I should? Harvard research on this article that I found talks about 3 types of cries.
Oh, okay.
So the 3 types of cries are reflex, continuous, and emotional. So reflex and continuous, those first 2 cries are made up of 98% water. So those 2 cries are more for, like, people who have allergies, their eyes are watering.
Oh, okay.
It's to, like, shed the eye of, like, any debris.
Being a contact wearer.
Yeah, absolutely. Contact wear and allergies.
Yeah.
But that third cry, the emotional cry, is made up of two chemicals that I can't pronounce. So I'm not going to say it, but guys should look it up, which help eases both physical and emotional pain because you're actually releasing these two chemicals out of your body. So
no, I Googled that one too. And when I saw it, it was releasing an endorphin. It's just because I feel like crying already has this like bad stomach. I'm like, it's literally put in our bodies to make us feel this release of pain and stress. It's like crying is a good thing.
It is. That's why people say a good cry, because you actually release emotions and you also, it just feels better. Like you release these pain.
It's not just like a mental thing. You are physically making yourself feel better by letting out a good cry.
Yeah. So I don't feel too guilty anymore. And I thought that was really interesting to share.
Yeah.
But like, what was your crying experience?
My crying experience, I have always just like had the stigma against crying, and I feel like I've learned so much.
Like anybody or personal?
I guess personal / anybody. I feel like if I saw somebody, like I feel like crying was always portrayed as a weakness in like my eyes and other eyes, or just like I feel like having a sick parent, there was always an emergency going on, and I remember just like my dad being like, look how good mom does. Like, she's not in panic mode. She, like, knows what to do, knows, like, the next steps for everything. Like, it was always just, like, made out to be so great that we didn't panic and cry. That I always wanted to be, like, I just wanted to be just as strong as my mom when a bad situation happened. Like, I didn't want to cry first. So I feel like I've always just, like, I felt like
saving face.
Yeah, like, I always wanted to look strong and have my shit together, where if I cried first, that meant I was weak and I couldn't handle things. And the idea of someone thinking I can't handle something.
Oh, no.
Where I also, in research, I looked that crying does have this weakness stigma that we're taught to, like, toughen up. And that boys have it even harder because crying is a very strong emotion, but it equals weakness, and boys can't look weak. So I did think that it was super interesting, and it took me going to therapy to understand crying is okay, because I would even in therapy apologize for crying. She's like, what are you doing?
Oh, really?
Yes, because it's just like, I'm so sorry you have to see me this way. I'm so sorry. Like, I felt like you have to see me like weak. That she even joked, and she's like, you people from Jersey like can't cry. She's like, you're the third person that like couldn't cry. So it was just like,
well, wait a minute. You have to share your sun, moon, and rising now. You need to find your tribe so they can tap into why you felt this way.
I am an Aries, like all true and true.
Okay.
I feel like I understand my crying problems because my moon is Pisces, and they're the crybabies of the zodiac. But we like to hide it. And then I'm a rising Taurus, so I got some Taurus in me too.
I did not know that.
Yes, no, I got some Taurus.
I love that.
Love that for you.
In me.
But so for me, I really had to learn to like accept crying and accept that it was okay. If I cried for my dad's thing, it was only at night when, like, no one can see me. And, like, shout out to my roommate, Melina, because the crying that probably came from my room at, like, 12 o'clock at night was annoying and atrocious.
I'm sure she was not annoyed. She's an angel.
Yes. But I feel like I definitely, for the longest, felt like I had to hide my crying. Even now, when I hear myself getting choked up, I'm like, I can't look at you. I can't.
Know.
But I think it's definitely been a goal of mine to, like, because even like in therapy, she's like, but do you, like, if I see you cry, I'm like, I don't think you're weak. I think you're going through something. So I just had to learn how to process it for me too and accept it for me.
No, I think so too. I think also with crying, you have to allow yourself to feel it. Oh my God,
yes.
Because you know when you're starting to talk about something that's emotional, or if something triggers something in you, the voice starts to crack, the eyes start, you go, you're like choking a little bit so you can feel it coming. And then you go to like, or at least for me, I'm speaking for myself, I go to like grab or clench myself to be like, nah, it's not the moment. Or like wait until you're like private, you know what I mean? To like get it out.
No.
So I don't outwardly cry to a lot of people a lot. But I mean, yeah, so that's definitely my story.
No, because I even felt, because I didn't cry at the funeral. Like I felt like there were to-dos to do, and I needed to like make sure things were going smoothly, and I didn't want to, I knew other people were going to be so upset that I even feel like sometimes I didn't give myself the moment to like live through the funeral and like really like process it and grieve and cry and like let it all out, because it was an ending of a chapter. So I think looking back on it, I wish I was a little more in touch with my emotions, or a little more okay with my emotions. But I didn't want someone to see me cry and then people all come around me like, so it's been a hard relationship to learn.
Yeah, it's been push-pull. Since that experience with your dad, what type of cry would you say you are now?
I'm still a hider.
Oh, really?
No, I cry in front of my therapist. Because, so I feel like I cry in front of my therapist. But if anything, I am more okay with harder conversations. I feel like I would definitely avoid or just like go quiet if someone asked me too difficult of a question, because I'm like, I'm going to cry when I say it out loud.
Okay.
Where I feel like I now am willing to tell someone everything that's going on, and maybe my voice cracks, but I know they're not going to care, or like they're still listening to me, or they're not going to think, oh, she couldn't handle that. So I feel like I've gotten better at like expressing myself, even though there might be a tear that comes out.
Got you. And sitting here talking to you, I thought of my last cry.
Really? When was it?
It was on a plane. And
going towards
coming back to New York.
Oh.
So it wasn't I wasn't crying about life. I wasn't crying about life. I was watching a movie, Till, and that movie is heart-wrenching. And I remember recently I told my mom I had watched it, and repeating the scene to her where I cried, I started to cry telling her the scene of the story. I mean, the scene of the movie. So yeah, that was my last good cry.
Your last cry.
That was probably in August. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Aww.
A little minute ago in the summer.
And if anyone out there wants to share with us what their last good cry was, add the date in the comments. We'd love to hear it.
Yes, DM us.
Yes.
Today's episode is in love and memory of Rachel's grandmother, Esther Laufert, who is missed each and every day. Again, we're your bereavement babes, Leah and Rachel, and we'll see you on the other side.